The cost of business crisis is a reality. It's a crisis that's affecting millions of business owners. We have a situation brewing up, not only in the United Kingdom, but around the world, called the cost of business crisis. It's a crisis that's been underreported. Not a great deal has been discussed about it, but it's something that could wreak havoc on the survival and existence of businesses of varying sizes and complexity. In this week's I Hate Numbers video, I'm going to outline what the cost of business crisis actually is, the factors that have contributed to its creation, and more importantly, what we can do as business owners to try and navigate those choppy and turbulent waters. Hi folks, welcome to another weekly episode on I Hate Numbers. This is the channel that's there to help you and your business make more money, save time, save tax, increase your financial awareness, and win more battles than you lose for what goes on between your ears. My name is Mahmood Reza. I'm an accountant, educator and mentor and proud author of the book, I Hate Numbers. I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel, help me share this content amongst more people, and I'd love it for your feedback and comments. I'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel and keep in touch with content that's going to help you navigate those choppy waters of business and help your business prosper and sustain. So what is the cost of business crisis? Now, we're all familiar with that concept, but certainly most of us are, with this cost of living crisis. The factors behind the cost of living crisis are also the ones that are impacting on businesses. So we know that over the last couple of years, the world has been pretty much in a shutdown situation. If you imagine having a car that you've left unattended in the garage, you go back to it a year or two later and you try and start the engine, you may find it's clogged up, you may find that it needs spare parts, you may find you've got to give it a lot of love and attention in order to get that car moving again. It's the same with businesses and the state of the economy. The world has gone through a period of shutdown, supply chains have quietened down, demand has changed, people's working patterns have changed, and effectively, once the economy starts to gear up again, starts to open up, businesses finding it difficult to recruit labour. We have found a spike in energy costs, shipping costs have increased. All those factors are conspiring to actually push prices up. Certainly from the UK's perspective, inflation has gone over the magic 10% mark. The biggest increases that most businesses are facing are in terms of energy costs. There is a spike also in wage costs, as much to keep pace here. So when we have got an increase in shipping costs, in energy costs, now typically there are three ways of dealing. One way that a lot of businesses have done is to actually look at their prices, look at them and actually put their prices up to try and recoup and keep pace with those costs. Now that's great, and that's always something that should be done in all businesses, but obviously you've got to take into account some customers may not be able to bear those price hikes, some customers may decide to go elsewhere, and that will have a knock-on effect. Now, it's not saying don't look at your prices. Price reviews should always be in the mix. Some companies have decided to absorb some of those cost increases. Some companies have decided to share that pain. The second area that we need to look at is looking at our cost base and the cost of delivering our products and services. Now, a note of caution here, folks. Before we take any action in our business, whether it's to put prices up, whether it's to cut costs down, whether it's to look at different ways that we can deliver our products and services and look at cost efficiencies, we need to make sure two things are in place. Number one, it's important that this is attuned to deal with what lies ahead. Now, one of the reasons for me talking about the contributory factors to costs going up so much is because they're not, in my opinion, likely to be like that forever. Whether they last for another year or 2 years, the fact is there will not be a permanent cost. Energy costs will come down. What we've got to deal with though is the here and now, and typically navigating at least the next 12 to 18 months. So we need to make sure we roll up our sleeves, we get our resilient heads back on, and we need to look forward in our businesses and not panic. Any decisions that we make have got to be well thought out and considered. Now, what underpins all good decision making in a business is having a good, robust and flexible financial plan. I'll leave a link in the show notes, folks, by the way, for additional resources that you can tap in to help you produce that financial plan, to help you produce that financial story for your future. Let's assume we have that plan in place. let's have a think about certainly 2 or 3 of the key costs and what we can do to try and mitigate some of that pain. Now we look at energy. Energy costs, certainly in the UK, are forecast to go up as much as 400-500%. I've got clients of mine who are going to be having contracts coming out, or certainly talked about, which those cost increases are going to be quite significant. Now, when you look at energy costs in terms of heating and lighting, it's certainly going to affect businesses who don't work from home more so than for those who work at home, because there is no energy cap, there's no protection. And one of the reasons why the business crisis is more severe is because there is no real government protection coming in, there is no cap on energy, and we're, as businesses, more susceptible and we're more exposed to those cost pressures from suppliers. We have less protection than consumers. That's not to say that you should feel more sorry for us than consumers. All parties are feeling the pain. And when it comes to energy, there are 2 or 3 things immediately that come to mind that we can do to reduce and mitigate the cost of energy increases. So apart from supply switching, looking for different suppliers, we can do things like looking at energy equipment that we have. So are those items of equipment, can they be made more efficient? Do we have old equipment that's consuming a lot of energy? Remember, the cost of energy is going to be made up of the consumption as well as the price you're paying for each unit of energy there. So do we have energy efficient equipment in place? Can we do things like logging off computer screens at night? Can we minimize the impact of how many times? So let's explore what we can do with energy. Now, costs fundamentally are based on 2 underlying elements. There's the amount we actually are consuming, the quantity of that energy, whether it's measured in therms or kilowatt hours, and the amount we're paying for each kilowatt hour unit of energy. So the 2 variables that we can attack is how much we're using. So let's look at the equipment that is consuming the energy in our buildings, in our offices, in our workplaces. Are they being left on for more than they should be? Are things like air conditioning, are they calibrated at the optimum? Can we lower the temperature? Do we need the air conditioning on all the time? Are there things that we can actually do for the equipment that we are using? Have they been serviced? Are they at their optimum level? Are they efficient? Are they old and consuming a lot more energy than they should be? When it comes to things like computers, can they be logged off or turned off at night? Obviously check with your IT department. They will consume energy, and everything that we can do to restrict the consumption by making sure things are running efficiently, things are turned off when they're not needed, will reduce the consumption, and therefore your energy costs will come down. Now, they may not seem like big savings immediately here, but look at it as a compound effect. Saving 10, 15, 20 pounds on a week compounds to quite a big saving over a year. So all those little elements that we can refine and improve will have a big impact on the bottom line and therefore ease some of the cost pressure. When it comes to consumption of energy in things like transportation, the cost of petrol, the cost of diesel, there are a number of things that we can look at there. So the vehicles that we're using, are they serviced? Are the tyres at their optimum? If tyres are deflated, not at the correct tyre pressure, they will use more energy. Do we have loads in our vehicles that we don't need to have there? If we carry too much weight in our cars, that will consume more fuel. Now, fuel is a very expensive commodity. It's used in that supply chain. It's used to transport vehicles. And therefore, we need to make sure that we're using them more efficiently. It may be that you're looking for alternative ways to power your vehicles. And in all these things here, before you make that quick decision, you need to look at the cost of investing in either new assets, new equipment, new items against the savings we're likely to make. Now, those are 2 certainly key elements, folks, here that we can look at. Looking at energy savings, switching suppliers, reducing the consumption. We look at the fuel that we put into our vehicles. When it comes to materials, are we efficiently using the materials? So elements of waste that we can cut out will also contribute to that bottom line. And the key thing is that all of this is not to panic. We look for savings in terms of efficiency, productivity, doing things better. And this may be the time that you re-look at what you're doing at the moment in your business and decide whether you actually want to overhaul it and improve it. Fundamental to all this is that cash flow plan that pieces all this together. So folks, I hope that's been of some benefit. We're going to certainly be talking more about this, no doubt, over the coming weeks. The key thing is not to panic. Put your resilience trousers on, put on your resilience trousers, and do not panic and look ahead. And fundamentally, get a financial plan. Manage that cash flow carefully. Have that financial plan at your fingertips, and you'll be able to navigate those choppy waters ahead until things become a little bit calm.